This is the point where I wait till Siri tells me it's 7. Now it's 7. Good evening. I'd like to call this session of West Jordan City Council to order. We have Councilmember Jacob, Councilmember Worthen, Councilmember Green, Councilmember Whitelock, Councilmember Bloom, Councilmember Pack, and Councilmember McConaughey. Tonight, we're going to start with a Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Miguel Chavez has graciously said he will lead us. So come on up to the mic and hit that right button.
Will everybody please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item of business on our agenda tonight is public comments. Comments should be directed to the council chair, and commenters should not expect any debate with or responses from the city council, mayor, or staff. However, as a point of personal privilege, council members, the mayor, or staff may respond to a public comment if recognized by the council chair. Members of the city council strive to create a respectful environment so everyone can feel safe and heard while participating in their government. When addressing the council, please provide your full name and city of residence. You will have 3 minutes to speak unless you are representing a group, and then you will have 5. Written comments may be submitted if a citizen does not wish to speak to councilcomments@westjordan.utah.gov. If you are here in person, feel free to come up to the lectern and you will be given your time. Again, state your full name and your city of residence. If you are joining us by Zoom, raise your hand in the chat and I will call on you. If you are joining via phone and wish to speak, push *9 to alert me that you'd like to speak, and when I call upon you, push *6. I appreciate you participating in your government and open up this public comment period. So if you're here to speak, feel free to come to the lectern.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Holmes. I live in the Sunburst neighborhood and have lived in West Jordan for more than 30 years. Tonight, I would like to address the issues surrounding the Community CAP program. I believe the program's goal is to sterilize, vaccinate against rabies, ear tip them, and return them. This is to help decrease the feral or wild cats by definition, but the program in all reality has increased the population within our neighborhood. Because of that, we have property damage concerns, health concerns, and property value concerns that are rising. This year I've had to rip out all my tomato plants in my garden because of the amount of feces and urine that these cats use for their litter box. I cannot let my grandchildren eat those tomatoes because of the dirt that has been infested from the cats. They cannot even play in that dirt as well. Cat feces can contaminate the soil with disease. Toxoplasmosis is a disease that results from infection from the Toxoplasma parasite. I know there are others that have sandboxes, gardens, flower beds that are being infested with cat feces from these. It is a health hazard to our neighborhood. This is considered property damage. I have flowers that I have planted that are dead because of the feces and the urine. Community cats roam and do whatever they want. They are protected by this program. No one is responsible for any damage or health issues that are arising because of this program. There has to be some responsibility somewhere. I'd like to see some changes to the Community Cat program. In the program, it does not list or state the amount of cats as an address or a community cat caretaker can have. It states any person other than an owner who provides food, water, or shelter to a community cat or community cat colony. Colony is defined as a group. There is no number, so a caretaker could take up as many as 20 if they would like. That is a problem. Can you imagine if that was the same rule for dogs? I would like to have a set of cats, a number of cats, not only a caretaker can have, but also those families that have cats for pets. These community cats are being fed outside day and night and is bringing in skunks and raccoons, which brings in other issues. If the caretaker are taking care of these cats They should be fed inside their homes or at least fed at certain times of the day and never, ever at night. I am asking for the program to be reviewed, discussed, and make changes so we can use our property the way that we would like to use it for the health concerns of all that live in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anyone else, please feel free to come up.
My name is Dave Holmes. I'm also from West Jordan. I'll ditto everything my wife just said and just mention real quickly that in my line of work, over the years, I've been in the homeowners' homes that have been totally desecrated by cats, dogs, and other types of animals, to the point to where your boots stick to the carpet, and the aroma that's in there it sticks to your clothes. I'm not suggesting that's what's going on in our neighborhood, but that's what's starting to happen in our yards. Some of our yards reek of cat urine and cat feces. And if the changes that my wife suggested can't be made, would it be possible to make a change that we can treat these cats that are feral, that are overtaking our property, as skunks and raccoons, because that's what's coming in, and trap them and take care of them according to the current law? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Stephanie Chavez with Sunburst, West Jordan neighborhood. First, I have a statement from Dwayne and Vicki Sorensen. They live right next door to a caregiver for cats. The number of cats that are constantly in our yard are destroying our lawns, leaving feces everywhere, and destroying our lawn furniture. Our children and grandchildren don't want to come to our house anymore because of the conditions. Dwayne is allergic to cats, and it's making it very difficult to be outside, to do yard work, or even mow the lawn. Because of those who are feeding these cats, we now have skunks, raccoons, and rabbits in our yard all the time looking for food. We have found several dead kittens in our yard that have been abandoned by the mother cats. We can't leave our sheds or garage open while we are working on things, as they will get into it and we don't know they are there, and they get stuck in there when we close or lock it up, and then they die. They crawl on our cars and hide underneath them all the time. Those with boats, they get into them under the covers and they destroy them. This situation is out of control, and we need some solutions to help our neighborhood. We have even considered moving because this has gotten so bad. We did not bring this element into our neighborhood, and we don't want to deal with it by having to catch them, especially with the allergy issues involved. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak to the council?
Okay. Hello, my name is Aurelia Red. I am a West Jordan City resident for the last 8 years in the Sunburst neighborhood. You've heard from a couple of our neighbors, but I'm here speaking on behalf of a group where we had a neighborhood meeting a couple of weeks ago.
Hey, Cindy, will you give her 5 minutes then? Thank you. Not mine.
My husband is passing out a packet that has a lot more information about what I'm going to speak about today. We have a deep concern and, as you can tell, extreme frustration within our neighborhood. The community cat program, as it is written today, is destroying our yards, our gardens, those of us who have other pets, our home businesses, and our children. The number of feral community cats that are roaming our neighborhood has reached unhealthy levels and is causing thousands and thousands of dollars in damage. The program promises to manage and reduce feral cat populations. When it was introduced a few years ago, many of us were actually excited, and we didn't see as many cats as we do today. I can tell you it's done the opposite. Our population increases almost daily. We have cameras around our yards, and we're catching new cats on those cameras each week. In the spring, we cleaned out our flower beds and our garden beds, and I have a severe cat allergy. My husband had to administer emergency medication to me because it was so terrible with the smell of urine. Come to my front yard. It'll take you 30 seconds to find it. We have captured in one night 18 different cats on our cameras, and they are getting into not only our flower beds, on our cars, on our boats, trailers, RV pads. This is also in the Naylor Farms neighborhood. I'm speaking on behalf of one of the neighbors there. In the attachments of this letter, you're going to see that there are 17 different diseases that these cats are bringing to our flower beds. We had the health department at our home in May advising us to remove half of the dirt out of our garden beds and not plant a garden this year. My first time in 21 years, I can't put up vegetables for my family this winter. These diseases come from cat feces, cat vomit, cat urine, and they are also, as you've heard, bringing in skunks and raccoons that bring a whole new level of rabies, not to humans, but to our other animals. The health department has said our neighborhood has an unhealthy number of roaming cats causing unhealthy conditions in our yards and our gardens. We've heard from neighbors who have daycares in their yards that are just on a street over from us that may lose their license due to the cat feces that's in their rubber sandbox that they've put in to try to deter the cats from coming in. When we talk about the damage, we're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars between all of us neighbors. We've had patio furniture, recreational vehicles, boat covers, patio covers, damage in our sheds, in our garages. We've lost plants, we've lost trees, as well as trailers. Who is going to reimburse us for these losses? The way the program is written today, there is no liability. The caretakers in the city can shrug their shoulders and say, oh well. These cats, many of us have tried to participate in the TNR program, the trap, neuter, release, back to the same neighborhood, but the cats are being released the same day by animal control back in our neighborhoods. We have proof of this on our cameras. Our city code states that no person or persons at any residence within the city shall at any time own, harbor, or license more than 4 adult dogs. There are no limitations to our community cats and how many one neighborhood or one home can have. I implore City Council to make changes and look at this program. Here are some of the suggestions from some of the neighbors that they wanted me to share. To find a number of cats per neighborhood and per caretaker that are reasonable for a neighborhood. Allow homeowners to trap more than 1 cat per day on their property, and for animal control to pick up and relocate that cat somewhere else or put it in a shelter. Provide cat deterrence to our neighborhood and provide a service to come and clean up the cat feces in all of our flower beds every single day and neutralize the cat urine to save our plants and our children. Determine liability for property damages and a process where we can submit claims for reimbursement. Update the program requirements for caretakers to provide food and water indoors. Create a permitting process. The list goes on with some more, but I just want to give you some information with these last 30 seconds. I went through my cameras in 72 hours last week from August 17th to August 19th. There were 48 unique times that a cat showed up on my camera, 10 minutes apart with a different cat. 17 of those times, a cat defecated in my front flower bed, just one. 8 times there were cats in my personal property in my backyard, and we've captured 3 skunks on those cameras. Please act now. If you don't, we will lose neighbors, property value, and we will be subject to diseases that are completely preventable. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the council in chambers tonight?
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Barrett. I'm the manager of the Bingham Creek Library. I am a resident of Draper City. I just wanted to quick provide you all with a little bit of an update of what's happening at the Bingham Creek Library. We're so glad to be part of West Jordan, and we just are wrapping up our summer reading program. We had an amazing turnout from our community. It was great. We had nearly 4,000 people just at Bingham Creek Library join the summer reading program this year. And a little over 1,500 of them finished the program. This is excellent. Way to go, seriously. West Jordan also had very high numbers as well, just back next to us here. They had over 3,700 participants, and they had over 2,000 people finish their program this year. So wonderful. We have a community that values learning and reading and our libraries, and we are so appreciative of all of you who participate and come in our doors. And contribute to our community. We also wanted to quick let people know, September 20th, we have an amazing program that we are going to be running that is going to also involve our adult and aging services from the county. They and a trained library specialist are going to talk about Medigap and Medicare supplemental plans to help make sure that people can make educated and informed decisions in their Medicare supplemental plans that they're selecting. It's going to be an excellent program. Like I said, September 20th, 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 5:30, so it won't be super late or super early. Hopefully this is something that would be appealing. If there's anyone you know in your life who'd be interested in participating, just have them show up, or if they have questions, other libraries throughout the county will also be offering this program throughout September and early October. We hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much. Thank you, West Jordan City. We love being part of your community.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Efremo, if you will push *6, you may have your 3 minutes. Alexandra, can you hear me? Push *6 and you can speak. Okay, well, you need to push *6 to unmute and then you can speak. All right, well, we will be moving on. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the council tonight? Seeing none coming forward, we will move on with our agenda. The next item on our agenda is a special recognition. Mayor, would you like to introduce?
I'd be happy to. We have in our presence, you may have seen him over here by the door, in the wheelchair is the Reverend Philip Rogers. He has agreed to serve on our diversity committee, in which we're excited. Our diversity committee got started, when did that start, Councilmember Jacob?
Just about 2 years ago.
About 2
Not
years
quite.
ago. And they've been actively meeting monthly since then, and we've added a few additional members at that time. And I had the opportunity to meet their Reverend Rogers over at his church. I stopped by one day, one afternoon, and they had a youth group participating. And after having some conversation with him, I thought he would be a good candidate for that. He got presented with an application, and he was very thoughtful and diligent. And he waited several months before he agreed because he wanted to know what he was getting into, because he's a very busy person. Fortunately, to us, he agreed. So I'd like to present to you Reverend Reverend Rogers for the Diversity Committee.
Wonderful. Reverend, if you'd like to come up, we have a certificate for you, a pin to our city, and we'll snap a picture. Oh, do you want to do that first? Let's do it, buddy.
Before we do that, I'll move that we approve Resolution 22-028. And Cindy, you can copy and paste the rest.
I'll second. We have a first by Councilmember Green, a second by Councilmember Worthen. Roll call vote, please, Cindy.
There it goes.
Thank you for your patience. Councilmember Pack,
Yes.
Chair Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey, Vice Chair Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Worthen,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
Council
Thank
Chair,
you.
if I could, I'd like to draw your attention to the PowerPoint that gives you a little background information.
Okay. Do you want to read any of it to us, or do you want to
I just want to draw
highlight?
attention to the last bullet point, which is really my most exciting one that I think qualified him mostly for this. The strong gift in listening to others in the midst of their difficult situation.
Great. All right, if you'd like to come forward now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I share stuff all the time, so, yeah. Thank you. I'll be at the yard sale this weekend. Thank you.
Can I just speak to that really quick, Reverend, before you take off? Is it okay? I just wanted to mention how glad I am that you're here, that you're a part of this committee. I have a niece who is also in a wheelchair, and she has been she's 26. She has been for 22 years since she was 4. So she often brings to mind to me needs of the disabled community that I just don't think about. And so I appreciate having you here. This is going to be awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, the next item on our agenda are reports from the mayor and the city administrator. Mayor Burton.
Thank you, Council Chair Whitelock. Last week, when the schools were starting, a lot of people forget that we have 2 school districts in our city. We got Jordan School District and Granite School District. And Granite School District invited me to their kickoff event where they invited all the teachers and administrators and staff to their kickoff meeting to prepare them for school kicking off. And I had an opportunity to attend that meeting and represent our city there. And Granite School District is doing some great things in their district, similar to Jordan School District is. And I want to thank Granite School District for taking care of our children and providing an education to them and helping them be ready to become adults. And that was a good kickoff they did there. Last weekend, myself with Councilmember Whitelock got to go to the senior housing and judge some patio decorations. And I won't say much about that, I'll save the rest for her, but it was an enjoyable event and it had a good variety of decorations on those patios. Something very unique, at least for me, is all the mayors in the state of Utah, 240 something, got an invitation to go up to the Capitol and have a special tour of the Capitol building. So I got to go up into the dome and walk around on the dome on the outside, and that was a spectacular event. And Governor Cox hosted that, and then right after that we got to go over to the governor's mansion and have dinner. And so I had that opportunity to spend some time with the governor and the lieutenant governor with hundreds of other mayors across our state. And as I understand, that's the first time in the history of the state of Utah that that's happened. So that was a special event, and I was happy to be the representation of the city of West Jordan at that event. I also had another cool event. As you might know, BSA has Boys and Girl Scouts, and I had 2 girls come to my office and shadow me for a day. And they got to hang out with the mayor of West Jordan for a day. It was great. They were 2 11-year-old girls, and at the very end I said, so now what do you think about what the mayor does? They said, he has a lot of meetings. Some things coming up soon. The Porter Rockwell Bridge ribbon cutting is happening on August 25th. And why does that matter to us at West Jordan? Because once we leave West Jordan and we're driving down Mountain View corridor, if we don't have to stop there and we keep going, that's good for us. So I plan to try and attend that, and that will actually be tomorrow, right? Isn't that the 25th tomorrow? That's great. So that's coming up. Also, our food trucks are continuing. Our last month is just right on the corner. We'll do it through September. And the first Tuesday in September is when we will also have the community market there. So if you don't make any other ones, make it to the first one in September and enjoy the community market. Or make it to all of them and don't worry about it. The Demolition Derby, August 27th. Oh, I shouldn't announce that because it's sold out. There are some single tickets. So if you don't mind going by yourself or having your date be a couple of rows away, please come get some tickets and join me at the Demolition Derby. That'd be great. And the city offices will be closed on Labor Day. Saturday, September 10th, there's several community service events happening. I'm going to ask Ariel to put those together and get those to you in case you want to stop by and visit with any of them and tell them thank you for providing service to our neighborhoods. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Chair, if I may, I'd like to have a couple department heads give you an update on a few things happening around the city. First, I'd like Greg Davenport to update you on some flooding that occurred recently in the city. Second, I'd like Ms. Steck to give you an update about our sales tax. And Chris Pangrick to give you an update on some new businesses and a survey that they're working on.
Thank you. Oh, now it is. As many of you know, on August 12th, the city had quite a large flood event in the western portion of our city. Our stormwater consultant, who's helping us with the master plan, relayed to me that we have 2 rain gauges in the western part of our city. One of the rain gauges registered rainfall events somewhere between 50 and 100 years. The other rainfall gauge recorded a rainfall event of a 500-year event, which I haven't actually seen here in the city before. The good news is we had fire, police, and city utility workers out responding to this event. For the most part in our city, the city stormwater system handled the event, but there were areas, pockets that we did have some large flooding events. Those events were mostly from private areas in our cities that were undeveloped, where we had runoff that included water and mud that went into city streets and then went down into city streets. Very few houses were involved in this flood event. The other good news is that city staff has spent that Friday, Saturday, and the next week cleaning up, and for the most part, all of these events have been cleared and cleaned up. We are looking at those areas where our system didn't perform as well as we had hoped, and we'll be presenting something in the future that talks about some physical improvements that we can make to make sure that they're safer in the future. Do you have any questions about that event?
Does anyone have questions for Mr. Davenport? I see none.
Here I go.
Oh, nope, now we have a late one.
How did Lake Constitution perform?
Surprisingly, that area of the city wasn't hit as hard as some of the others. It was really localized, so if you were somewhere between 9800 South and SR 111 and maybe Bangor Highway and maybe 86, maybe up to 78th, you saw a lot of water. If you weren't in those areas, you might not have seen any. So here at City Hall, I don't know if it rained at all, which is really strange, but it seems like our city seems to have those large rainfall bursts in the summer where they're really localized to one area. And the area that got hit the hardest was at 64 West and about 8900 South. It seemed like that area, the water just stayed over there for a long period of time and really caused damage. Chris, did you have
to respond to Councilmember Green, we have had some other rain events that brought quite a bit into Constitution Park. The rocks have done a fantastic job preventing the dirt from getting out into the field. I've noticed that the Parks Department had to defer mowing for a few days, but the impact was gone in under a week. It was fantastic. And then as far as what was out there in the area that Mr. Davenport's describing, I did have a chance to go out there the day after with Mayor Burton, and I do have some drone footage. If you're interested in seeing what that looks like, I can send you the link.
I would love to see that, Chris, if I could get a copy of that too.
Yeah, I'll send it over.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jacob.
And just to pile on, that was at my house. Or it was right near my house. No, I don't really have a question, but it was, I think they measured like 1.25 inches of rain in under an hour.
Yeah,
So it was, yeah.
It was a good storm.
I've never seen it rain that hard.
yeah.
So it was intense.
Again,
It was
I'm
hard to see the
glad.
house across the street for me.
I'm really glad that the areas in our city that were developed performed really well. The areas that we haven't had a lot of development in, that's the ones we had the most problems with, as you'd expect. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Council, I sent you several reports this week. One is a financial report for our estimated year end. It's pretty close to what our year end will close at. And if you have any questions about that report, if you'll just let me know, we can talk about it. And then, and that report is also posted online for our residents, as are all of our monthly financial reports. But the second report that I sent you was your sales tax revenue report. So day before yesterday, we received sales tax for June sales. We prepared your budget anticipating a slowing in the economy based on rumors of recession and increased inflation, those kinds of things. We are still seeing some growth. We saw 1% growth in May and 5% growth in June for sales. However, I'd like to put that in context, and I should have written this in the report, so I thought I'd let you know tonight. In context, though, while we saw 1% or 5% growth, we actually would consider that a decrease in sales tax because there was a 10% inflation factor there. So CPI is at 10%, but we only saw 5% growth in June, meant that we slipped 5%. Does that make sense? We're getting more sales tax dollars only because things are costing more, but on the flip side, things are costing more for the city to perform as well. So asphalt and labor and all of those things are in consideration. So to put it in context, May likely slipped about 9% and June slipped about 5%. We don't know yet. There aren't numbers released yet for July, but we anticipate that to continue. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
As the Economic Development Director, I don't always love getting those reports about that, but I would like to say kudos to the retailers in West Jordan. I think the growth is slightly, very slightly above the state average, right? By 0.25%. But anyway, we do have strong retailers, and that continues to grow. I'll talk about new businesses in just a second, but I want to lead off with an annual business survey that we're putting out. I don't know about you all, but I don't love surveys. I try to participate in them as I can when they're meaningful. But one thing we do care about absolutely is every business, from the home-based businesses to the big businesses we have here in West Jordan, and we want to take excellent care of them. In order to do that, it is important that we get feedback from as many of them as possible on an annual basis, so we can kind of find out what are the trends, what are the challenges they're experiencing. And in order to do that, we've put out some mailers, and we're sending emails as well to all businesses in West Jordan to solicit their participation. The survey has technically 63 questions, but it's much smaller than that because depending on what type of business you are, as you answer them, a lot of the other questions will drop off. So we tried to keep it very brief, no more than 10 minutes. But we've sent out mailers to 1,283 businesses soliciting their participation in our survey, and then we've got 2,608 emails going out. In addition to that, we take postcards, and when we meet with businesses in person, we'll be asking them to participate if they haven't already. So we hope to get great feedback, and as you've seen in past years, we'll provide council and the businesses with a report at the conclusion that says what are the things that we learned, and then we can identify where we want to deliver resources and develop programs to help those businesses. With that, a couple of quick notes on happenings, new businesses. We've got a few new businesses that have come into various retail centers. We've got Nydia Zavala Beauty LLC and Rockio Zavala Makeup and Aesthetics and Prime IV Hydration and Wellness. Those are all new businesses in the Jordan Landing area. We've got Overtime Glass, which is a small auto glass repair in Galaxy Park. And then Soul Sanctuary is a business that's located in the Jordan Winds Business Park. Aside from that, a few updates, and I know I get questions from several council members from time to time about some of these, so I'll just kind of give you some consistent updates. Home Depot has submitted their plans, their site plan for development review. Super excited about that, and huge thank you to the Peterson Development for their working with us and getting those applications through. It's been a lot of work, but we're super excited. And yes, Councilmember Worthen is holding up her sign that says Costco, because I know she would like to see a Costco. We continue to work on that one. Well said. And I do get quite a bit of comments and questions from residents about, anyone here want to see a Costco? Okay, I see a lot of nodding heads.
Did
We'll
you
keep
hear this
working on
lady
it.
on the front? Did you hear what she said?
Trader Joe's. You know, well, I'll just tell you, residents, you have some wonderful advocates, because the things that you tell them, they tell me, and I get it consistently. Anyway, we continue. We have a really strong recruitment program. We're always reaching out to the brokers and wherever possible, the businesses themselves for some of these large enterprise businesses. We're always talking to them about sites that we have available, and it's a contact sport. We try to be consistently in front of them. Correct, 7800 and 56th. H-Mart. H-Mart's plans have been submitted for construction. There's one form they're needing to fill out so that they can build that. And yes, the old Kmart. Okay, H-Mart is a specialty Asian grocer. So they specialize in all sorts of ethnic foods, kind of Asian, a lot of import foods. And it's a well-branded, well-marketed, very polished store. So very similar to a Smith's, but on a smaller scale. And so they're a specialty grocer. We're really excited to have them. And more importantly, we're excited to have an investment in the area. Because I think we all know it's been needed and it's been a bit blighted for a while. Truck Ranch, as you all know, is going in on Mountain View Corridor and 90th South. We've had some meetings with them. We've gone over their red lines. Their building looks amazing. We're very excited about that, and that's making progress and moving along. Boeing is working on a very large expansion, 100,000 square feet of unused space previously, that they will be investing a tremendous amount of money to expand their manufacturing capacity. Boyer is under construction on a 1 million square foot building right now out on New Bingham Highway. And we're actively working with EDCU, Boyer, and their broker, Newmark Grubb, to bring a business in that's a manufacturing business. I can't go through all of them. I wish I could. I feel like I've taken too much time, but we've got a lot of other small businesses going in as well, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Are there any questions for Mr. Pangra? I don't see any, thank you.
Spirit, I can't. Yeah.
If we're going to speak, we really should use our mics.
Well, I do, if I'm able to. Yes, there's a Spirit store in Councilmember Worthen. Where is that Spirit store? Halloween store.
Yes, Spirit Halloween store. We do have one this year back in West Jordan. It's over by the Walker Edison, which was the old Shopko building, right next door. Lots of residents happy about that.
You know where to get your Halloween decorations and costumes now, so there you are. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. All right. Is there anything further, Mr. Lee?
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is a public hearing to consider ordinance 2239, a petition from Barrett Peterson Development to rezone.
Chair, I'm sorry.
Did I skip? Oh, I skipped. This is really, I lied. We're going to go to an update from Public Utilities. We already heard from the water guy, wasn't that utilities?
I will make this really quick.
And it's the same guy.
I can see that you guys are all excited to get to Peterson Development, so I'll just make this quick. Just as an update, summer's almost over. We're getting into a close almost of summer, so I'm going to give you a little bit of update. Let me start with a few facts. In 2020, the city used 24,138 acre feet of water. In 2021, that was a non-drought year in 2020. In 2021, we used 21,943 acre feet of water. We saved, in 2021, we saved 2,195 acre feet of water. That is enough to fill a 3 million gallon tank 240 times. So that's a lot of water that we saved in 2021. This year, we are 6% under that figure. So we're even better than we were last year. Some of the reasons for that use, of course, have been the marketing that the state has done in trying to let people know that we're in a drought. But there's also some programs that Jordan Valley has where people can get smart control rebates. They can flip their strip, or they can go and look at the local scapes design plans and go and learn about how to change your side yards into areas that are non-turf so you can save water there. Those are some of the reasons why I think we've done those. For the people who have made permanent changes to their lawn, those will be permanent savings for the city, and we'll always see that conservation effort happen. For those members of the community that have adopted the slogan, "Yellow is the new green," I think that's only temporary. So I think that you're going to see, as soon as the drought's over, that water use tick back up closer to the 24,000. I think that's all. I need to talk about parks for just a second. I'm sorry. It's been asked, what has our city done to save water on all the park areas and park strip areas where we use culinary water? They have cut the water use in half. So we have watered half as much this year as we would in a non-drought year. For the areas where we use irrigation water or secondary water, they've kept the same water use. And in all of our parks and landscapes, they've tried to make sure that nothing dies so that you don't have to replace that with city funds later. Do you have any questions?
Questions?
Okay,
I see
thank you very
none.
much.
Thank you, Mr. Davenport. All right, now we'll go on to the public hearing for ordinance number 2239 for a rezone of 7.26 acres at approximately 7662 South, 5490 West from R320 Senior Housing Overlay to multifamily residential 20 units per acre maximum density with senior housing overlay. 2, R320 zone multifamily residential maximum density for the Highlands Landing property. Okay. Mr. Peterson. And are you Barrett or Ryan?
Actually, I am.
No, you're Seaman.
I'm Seaman.
You're
I'm
Seaman,
Jeff
actually,
Seaman.
now that I think about it, yeah.
Peterson will talk here in a minute. While we're getting this set up.
You could be one of their brothers, in my opinion.
Oh, thank you. Hear that, Barrett? No, I'm Jeff Seaman. I live in Taylorsville and work for Peterson Development. I live 2 streets out of West Jordan, and I'll tell you, on the drive over, West Jordan got the rain, Taylorsville did not. So you guys are getting the rain that we've been praying for.
Well, thanks.
So,
Thank you.
I am not. Do I need to be?
Give me just 1 minute. If this doesn't work, then I've got to back up.
Is Rachel your backup?
No, she's helping.
Rachel's a tech savvy person.
Rachel knows.
Go to this Wi-Fi. You're on this one. Yep. Okay, you know what we could do? We should also do. It's trying.
Well, thank you for your patience.
It's trying.
Hey, Alan, your next task is to get Jeopardy music to go. Respect.
Not gonna turn red? Really? No.
I will say that once the applicant has finished, if there is anyone that wants to speak to this item on our agenda, it is a public hearing and you'll be invited and you will have 3 minutes to speak to this once we get there.
Do you see the guest says it's connected? It's not.
That's a good time. That's a good time.
It says it's connected to guest, but it's not.
Okay.
Okay.
Freaking Max.
Can't see that. Was it something we said? Yeah,
No.
probably something we didn't say.
So,
Okay.
Alan's got it right there. I don't have control over it here, but Alan does over here, so if we need to zoom in. Once again, Jeff Seaman with Peterson Development. It's really, council chair and council, it's an honor to be here today. What we are dealing with, so just to let you know, this is what we call our epicenter. 7800 South and 5600 West. In fact, today I had our designer remove the Home Depot logo off of this graphic because I didn't want to announce anything that I shouldn't have. But Chris, good job on that. So yes, this is this neighborhood. And Home Depot's been a long time coming, and we're super excited about that. So what we are dealing with today is 7.26 acres of a rezone. The essence of what we're doing is we're trying to rezone to remove the senior housing overlay. So as you can see, it's the property north of Sherwin-Williams and Mr. Car Wash, west of the proposed IHC. So right there. What we're proposing is 45 single-family homes, and I think it's important to kind of get the history of this parcel, because there's been some accusations and maybe some misremembering. But if we can go to the next slide, back in 2017, this property, or the next page on the PDF, this property looked like this. 9.15 acres of rural residential. It was all very low density. And then, so in 2017, it got rezoned. If we can go to the next slide. Sorry if I was handling this. This was what the rezone contemplated. So of course, in the the northwest, you had 4.28 acres of medical office. Below that, 10 acres of community commercial, and then 8.223 of senior housing. That 8.223, because of the road, 5490 and Highlands Loop Road, is now down to 7.26 acres. So it's that same parcel. So in 2017, this is what happened. It was never intended and it was never rezoned to be a commercial use. And so this is the current zoning that it's at right now. So if we can go on to the next slide, Alan. And so when that rezone occurred, this is what it looked like. We anticipated the medical office, the community commercial, and then 3-story senior housing. The density would be about it would come out to about 145 units. So a 3-story building right there. So between 2017 and now, why the change? If we can go to the next slide. So this is, and scroll over to the left so we can see more of the plat. Very good. This is the plat on 7800 South and 4800 West. Lot 3 up in the corner and Lot 7, the big guy in the middle, was owned by Albertsons. And we were able to close and acquire those 2 lots last year, just last year. And so within the last little bit, y'all voted to approve a zoning change to put senior housing here. And so what we're doing is shifting the senior housing from what we had contemplated in 2017 to what we feel is a much better location. This is not done lightly. It was done with a lot of thought and market studies that said that this would be a better location for our senior product. And we are moving full steam ahead on that. So as any smart business person would know, competition is king, and you don't want to be your own competitor less than a mile away. Makes sense, right? And as the city would know, is you want projects to succeed. You want two different projects that can succeed. So if we can go on to the next slide. So essentially that's what we're doing, is we're just asking the senior housing to be shifted from this 7.26 acres to here, which was already approved. So this is our proposal. 45 single-family lots. Councilmember Green had some great input, and we came back with some revisions. We want to make this walkable for those residents to walk and grab their burger or custard over at Culver's, walk down and get their paint from Sherwin-Williams, and walk and get their car washed. They'd have to drive too. It's a joke. So we feel this is a product that is desperately needed in the city. Single-family homes at a moderate income price point. So if we can go on to the next slide. So the big question is, how does this affect neighbors? You can see that access to this property is off of 5490 West. None of the existing homes, they're all cul-de-sacs to the east. So none of these residents would be driving through existing neighborhoods, causing any additional traffic for those neighbors. It would already be going up that 5490 and maybe along the Highlands Loop Road. So, and then if you zoom in, you talk about setbacks and distances. The closest distance right there between building to building is 127.9 feet. So there's ample setbacks. There's this will have minimal effect. It'll have a less effect on the neighbors than a 3-story assisted living or a senior product that was originally contemplated there. So I want to be clear, there was no intention of a bait and switch, trying to get this zoned as a senior product and then transfer that zoning to another. It was just happenstance that we were able to acquire the Albertsons property. We actually tried for many years to acquire that property, and they finally acquiesced. I don't know if you knew, Albertsons left in 2009, so that's when they left. So we would have had to make masterminds to pull out that stunt. The question is now, and some of you brought up, is what about a development agreement? Right now, we, on working with the staff, we dealt with everything they brought up. We made our application. Never was it implied or suggested that we have a development agreement on this. In talking with staff, development agreements typically in this situation are for when the zoning or the utilities aren't there. So, for example, on our villas at Stone Creek, the other senior product that the one we're building, we have a development agreement that we can only build as much as water is available. So that's typically, or a development agreement when some infrastructure needs to be built and paid for, and there's a development agreement in that sense. So a lot has been said or implied that we want to change the zoning and then come back at another time with a higher, more dense product that is not senior housing. That's not our intention. Our intention right now is to proceed with this single-family concept which you see before you. So on behalf or working with staff, that's why we were to this point. A development agreement wasn't contemplated until Friday, kind of last minute, and I'll let Barrett speak a little bit more to that. But if we can go to the next slide, which is back to the beginning, about our epicenter. We have taken the long view on this property. We've been working really hard to make this a desirable location that is a commercially viable center that has long-term potential, great tenants who are going to be there and provide great services for those neighbors. And I think I will leave it at that and leave it up to Barrett. If Barrett, would you like to say anything?
Maybe after questions.
Oh, do you have any questions or?
Council, do you have any questions for the applicant? Councilmember Pack.
Well, thank you. Could you speak toward more of the open space? When it says open, obviously it means open, but do you have any thoughts of what to put in the open space that still leaves it open, but it has some amenities?
So it's a detention pond right now, and so it'll need to be there. So I imagine we'll put like a tot lot or something in there for the kids.
And that would basically be it?
Yeah.
Where you
correct.
Use it when it's not flooded, so.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jacob.
My only question is, who are you and what have you done with the developers that we're used to dealing with? When you have entitlements for a 3-story apartment building and you come back and propose 45 single-family houses, you're kind of going backwards from what most developers come to us with. So, anyway, just are you crazy? No, do you not want to sell? No, never mind. Okay, I don't really have a question.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Worthen.
So I'm curious, why do you think we don't need senior housing in West Jordan? Because I will tell you, for the past 2.5 years, that has been one of the biggest things. We underserve our community. Back when Melissa Johnson was mayor, it was an issue that our residents that are aging are moving out of West Jordan because they don't have a place to live. You say you don't want to be your own competition. However, I don't think you have a lot of competition in West Jordan because we're losing our senior citizens, but they're the ones with the disposable income. They're the ones with less cars because they don't have children and they're not, they don't have children going to the schools. It's a great community to want to keep in West Jordan. So, I mean, it's not like it's a secret. I've said this multiple times. I think both locations would be great to do something, and the fact that you took away the apartments that could have been senior apartments? Because that is definitely underserved in our community.
It was originally going to be like an assisted living or something like that. And so I would say we're not anti-senior. In fact, we're the opposite. We're putting our money where our mouth is by developing this other property that has 116 units of senior housing
But my
plus
question
an
is,
assisted living.
what makes you think that we don't need both? I mean, what is the data? What are you finding that we don't need to have more of that? I mean, you're basically saying we don't need to have that over here because we have it over here, but what's your data? What's behind it saying that we don't need to service that community?
The market study indicates that there probably isn't enough demand for both locations. And essentially, we're also saying that seniors can live here. Seniors can buy this. What we're doing is just taking away the senior housing overlay, which allows everybody to purchase this property, not just a senior.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? I don't see any.
Would it be okay for me to say a few things as the applicant as well?
Are we okay with that? Yes, that will be fine.
Thanks. Barrett Peterson, Peterson Development, 225 South, 200 East, Salt Lake City, Utah, 84111. Thought it might be good just to hear and get any questions straight from me as the applicant and one of the co-owners of the property. And I'll just maybe add to what Jeff said. He said it well, that we're putting our money where our mouth is as far as senior housing. We've done 55 and older communities a number of times in the Valley and in West Valley and South Jordan. We're starting a project in Heber right now, and we're excited to bring this to West Jordan. Within Stone Creek, we developed the ranches, which is, it wasn't officially a 55 and older, but that's who it was designed for. But I would echo also what Jeff said, that we do have a market study I'd be happy to share with you that kind of looked at, compared both sites, and in our estimation, to try to bring on two products in those two locations is kind of an oversupply to the market. And that's what the market study kind of tells us. And then I think something I just wanted to also back up what Jeff said, 48th and 78th South there, 78th South, 48th West on the southwest corner, we're envisioning a beautiful campus there, a senior campus, 27 acres. It will have between 75 and 100 assisted living units, as well as about 125 55 and older fourplexes. And that's something we're trying up in Heber. We've seen it done successfully where you have the mixture of where you move in maybe when you're 55 and you're downsizing, and then you can move across the street to the assisted living. And we're doing that up in Heber City. It's very well received there. We're just breaking ground, so it's not up, you can't see it. And then we've kind of seen a model with our partner they've done up in Farmington, a very similar product, up kind of by Lagoon off the freeway there. It's not as big, but it has assisted living next door to single-family residences. So I'd like to state that we are, we're definitely invested in the senior community that way, and we've sold to seniors. We do feel strongly, though, that there is a need for this middle housing. And, you see what Jeff says here, this epicenter of our development. I mean, this is 20 plus years in the making, and we're not a fly-by-night developer. Things do change, conditions change. I mean, the Mountain View corridor used to be planned on 5600 West, right? So we've had to make some changes to our plan along the way, but we do it thoughtfully and methodically, and we don't take any change lightly. So I hope you know that we don't just change plans overnight, but we do value flexibility as a developer to be able to change to when the market may change as well. So, yeah, thoughts or questions for me after that long-winded spiel?
Any questions for Mr. Peterson? I see none. At this point, I will open the public hearing. If you're here to speak to this, feel free to come to the lectern. If you will, again, state your name and city of residence, and you will have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Amy Martz. I live in West Jordan. I'm on that top cul-de-sac in the drawing they just showed, and I came to object tonight for the 3-story apartment complex, and I'm quite pleased to find, lower density housing, that it's not 3 stories. So kudos, thank you very much. We've been here since 2017, every meeting for every single change, saying, please don't build next to our 1 acre properties with the 3-story buildings. So it looks kind of like a PUD community, which I lived in across from Jordan Landing many years ago, but it's a nice sized community. You get new people moving in. It's kind of a nice place to establish a new residence. So get rid of that roundabout and you'll have my complete support.
June Christiansen, and I live out further west. And I have some concerns about this area, and mine are kind of a little on the other side. I go down there to get my mail most every day and drive right by that. And I looked over the information that they put on the city's website, and I'm just visually, I'm concerned with putting 45 houses in that space. They'll be very packed together. The exits all come out onto the road that used to be that private road. Every one of those houses is going to have 3 to 4 cars. Is there a 2-car garage on there with enough setback that they can put 3 to 4 cars in their yard rather than park them on the street? It will really increase the traffic along there. I'm also really leery of the word intent versus what is written and designed and stamped with approval. And I'm uncomfortable with accepting anything that doesn't have a written, signed, sealed, drawn, whatever plan in place before it is approved. It leaves too many open ends for changes and things that may or may not be acceptable in the long run. I'm a little worried about the Natural Meats Farm. You put that many houses along there, there's a real draw to the open space for the kids that are there. Knowing that with my space and all the kids that come in, I understand that. I also know that there will probably be complaints about the smell, the flies, and everything else that come from along with having cows. And so those are some things to be aware of as you move that many people into there. So I think the whole thing has concerns both ways. My first thought was, okay, maybe this isn't such a bad idea, seniors versus just housing. But I think there's enough concerns that it needs to be dealt with and put firmly in writing before anything is agreed upon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to this item? I see no one online and no one in the chat, so I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for deliberation and a possible motion. Does anyone have anything they wish to say? Okay, I will go then. I struggle with this. I think Ms. Martz is, I would probably agree with her. Rather I have a 3-story building behind me or single-family homes, I would probably go with single-family homes. But what we're being asked to do tonight is to entitle this parcel to 20 units per acre with no restrictions. And that concerns me. I appreciate the Peterson Development Corporation. I haven't had issues with them. I think they're a good development. They've certainly brought a lot of what's desired to that area of our city. And I don't know why on this one, utilities are one thing, but we still need to know if there are utilities, and I don't know that. And I'm guessing there are. But to get it without a guarantee, what I got in my packet was that we want to take this off and a conceptual drawing. So what I did is I reached out to legal and said, hey, so with this drawing, does that mean that that's what will go here? And my answer from Mr. Quayle was no, that does not tie them to this conceptual drawing. And so that gives me a moment to pause. Not because I think they're shady, and I've never said that, and not because I think that they're trying to pull a fast one, and I never said that either. And some of those things I think were intimated tonight, and I don't appreciate that. But because my job is to look out for what's best for West Jordan and the city. Had this come to us with a plan that locked both of us into the 45 units and the conceptual drawing, I could be okay with that. And I didn't hear anything that would make me say no, because I care about what residents say. I heard one say, I want it locked in tighter, and one say, I like this better than the 3-story. So my vote would have been yes. And could be yes in the future if I get something that ties it to that. But I'm not in favor of having 20 units per acre on this lot that is not senior housing overlay. I just don't want to see that happen. And market forces change. Economies change, as we've seen. Something can happen in another country and come here the next month, and our whole lives are turned upside down. And nobody knows that. None of us know that. So it concerns me, because what can also happen is sometimes, I don't think Peterson's would, but sometimes developers go under. And then the property gets sold to somebody else before it's developed, and I've entitled it to 20 units per acre in an area that I'm uncomfortable. And I hope when we do put this through, I hope that we have those homeowners sign something acknowledging that they're going to be building near a working ranch, because some of us enjoy those smells and some of us don't. And I don't want to see our inboxes filled with, you got to get rid of that natural meat place. They really stink up the city, because I like natural meat. So those are my thoughts. And I see Councilmember Jacob has his light on.
Thank you. We might also want to let them make sure they acknowledge they're near an airport. No, I'm just kidding. I just
Don't
did.
go down the helicopter path.
Sorry. No, I understand the concerns that Councilmember Whitelock just mentioned as far as what is being entitled versus what is being proposed. There is a discrepancy there. However, if it was a developer, now, this is kind of a word of caution to the developer, right? If this was a developer I'd never worked with before, didn't know if they were going to get this entitlement and then turn around and sell it or whatever, I would have more concerns. But being a developer that we're familiar with, that for the most part, now I have had one occasion to get mad, but for the most part has done what they say they're going to do and puts in what they say they're going to put in. I'm willing to approve this on good faith, and that they're going to start moving dirt quickly and wanting to build what they say they're going to build. If this was court and this was a legal thing, I guess it's sort of legal. There'd be a promissory estoppel type of a thing here, where you're getting an entitlement because you promised something in this drawing, in this presentation. That's not really happening here. So it is a little bit of it's a faith move, and we know where you are, we know where your office is, so we can come egg you if you decide to do something else. Not that we would, but some people might, and you gave us your address, so it's out of our hands now. But in other words, anyway, summary wise, I like this concept. I live in a neighborhood that is very similar to this. As far as, shared driveway, houses, spaces, that's where I live, and it's got its place for the people who want that. The people who want the 1 acre lots, there's a couple here who might be willing to sell that live right across the street. So, yeah, anyway, I'm in favor just because I know the developer, we know who they are, we know where they live. They have a lot more land in West Jordan that they're gonna come asking for things. And if they start reneging on things, we're gonna start clamping down a lot harder. So anyway, I'll be in favor tonight. Thanks.
Vice Chair Green and then Councilmember Pat.
First, and I understand the concerns that Councilmember Whitelock is talking about. I do. I will tell you that I was on the Planning Commission and voted against this rezone because I didn't want the senior family housing there anyway. I was one of the lone people that did not like that. And so, because of a couple of other things that I thought it would create issues. So it's kind of funny that this is full circle. There are a couple of things that I will remind the council about. One, we do have the balanced housing ordinance, and the balanced housing ordinance caps the multifamily, and there's not going to be any and I think if we use the formula on the multi-cat, or in the balanced housing ordinance, we might be able to build some multifamily on irregular land sometime around the year 2045. So I'm not concerned about that. The other thing, and I tend to agree with Councilmember Jacob. You see what the Petersons have done on this corner. You've got you look down that list. There's a proposed IHC. There's a Sherwin-Williams, I'm not a fan of the Mr. Car Wash because I think that's like the 1700th car wash in West Jordan City, but okay. It's not the newest one, by the way. The newest one opened up on 78 just east of 22nd West the other day, in case you care. Costa Vida, Pizza Hut, across the street. We've got a couple other things, and as you heard tonight, there's going to be a Home Depot on that corner. Honestly, they put their money where their mouth is in this city. How many cities have 2 Home Depots below? And by the way, if you didn't know, when you count the Smiths in their project, that's 4 Smiths. That's 4 Smiths in the city and 2 Smiths marketplaces. And a partridge in a pear tree. So, I'm gonna be voting in favor of this as was mentioned. We had met on this in the land use committee, and I had thought about it hard and long and thought about a couple of the issues. Actually even proposed a couple of things to change this to try to make it better for the neighbors, and you actually can see where they've added sidewalks so you don't have to walk all the way around. You can cut through the neighborhood to get to Culver's or Pizza Hut or Costa Vida, or use that new roundabout that I'm not a fan of and go across the street to Panda Express. I tried to nix that roundabout and we couldn't do that. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, gosh, how many phone calls did I exchange with Mr. Howell here of Peterson Development trying to talk about this? Probably 7 or 8. I appreciate the comment on parking and traffic concern, while also noting, certainly not dismissing it, but being more of an advocate of mixed use opportunity, living so close to shops, you can recreate, you can go get something to eat. I like the idea of walking to wash your car. I don't know how that exactly works, but that really is the trend that we're striving to go for, it seems, is to be able to have a variety of opportunity within the neighborhood where you live. I too shared the concern if the SHO is taken away, then it's really not a senior housing opportunity, but seniors can still live there, but you could have new families moving in as well. I like the idea of the moderate income housing, which is an initiative that we've been working toward. So pros and cons put together, it seems like this is much better than a 3-story high-density proposal. But is it the highest and best use? Well, it seems to me that when you do get that mixed use, that is a very good high and good use. So in reading the minutes, it seems like that was the, if I'm understanding correctly, that was the crux on which the land use subcommittee was having a concern, is that if you take away the senior housing overlay, well then how is that going to work? But I agree that there's been great connectivity to business, and as we've mentioned before, dealing with planning commission, having served there and serving on city council, when developers come in and say, yeah, well, we might do some commercial, and they kind of put that off. Well, it's wonderful to see commercial and residential getting built out together, so that one doesn't stymie the other. And Planning Commission seemed to be in favor, 6-0. So I always want to look at things with a 360-degree view. It seems like this is a great opportunity of development with what they're proposing. As Councilmember Jacob mentioned, it could be even more. So it's nice that Peterson is working for what I believe the betterment of the community is. So I'll be voting in favor of it unless something else comes up that's a contradiction to what I just mentioned. Thank you.
I appreciate the homework that's done on this location. There's other locations that don't do the homework and don't see the necessary changes that could be made for an area. We've all kind of seen that on some of the things. So I appreciate that. Yes, there has been changes over the year, but I like that these changes are because of the development in the area and the things that have happened over the last few years. That I actually find comfort in because it helps our city grow in a healthier way. And I also know that it's our job to kind of give you guys a little bit of a headache when developing things. So I hope you appreciate that because I think it does make what we do approve come in better. And I do appreciate Chair Whitelock's concerns of like, what if there's a bait and switch? And I get it because, that has happened in the past with other cities. And we're very protective of what we want there and what we feel is going to grow. But if there is a bait and switch, we definitely can really create a headache for you down the road.
I just need to say, I never said bait and switch, and
No,
I don't
I'm so
believe
sorry.
that.
That's his term.
No, sorry, okay, sorry. But you know what the understanding is we really appreciate the hard work, but at the same time, we also want that comfort of knowing that nothing is going to change after we approve something because we value what is going in there, and that means so much to not only the residents but the growth of our city. If COVID didn't knock out my savings, it would be a place I would love to look into buying because it's so just local of where we live. But I appreciate the hard work, and I look forward to seeing those houses develop right there very wisely with that walkable to the supermarket, to the things, and yes, I'll be a yes on this.
Councilmember Worthen.
I'll just be brief because, like I said, for 2.5 years, I've tried to serve the senior community. And by the way, I don't think it's 55. I want to say 62. Okay, let's just go 62 and over. But anyway, getting too a little close. Doesn't matter how close I am. Let's just keep that out. Anyway, it's before I was in office. It's been an issue. I really appreciate what you guys are doing on the corner of 78 and 48. I mean, I got no issues with it. I think it's great. I know we did discuss some of the timeline issues of when to put things in, but overall, I think it's great. I just also think this area is great with the senior overlay. I mean, I could just be one of 7, whatever, but it is so walkable. It would be so good for people 62 and over that, want to walk to wash their car or their scooters. I mean, their scooters. They can go wash their scooters. But they're jazzy chairs, those things. So, yes, and it has nothing to do with, I mean, you're a great group. You've done great things, ethical, on faith, I'm sorry, but welcome to 2022. Come on. It's kind of hard to do anything on faith, no matter how good of a person you are. I don't like the idea of that. So those are the 2 reasons I will say no to it, but it doesn't mean that you're not a great builder. You can't do, you're not going to do great things in this. It's just those 2 things I just can't. And I have made a commitment to the 62 and older community in this, in West Jordan, that I would do as much as I can before my term is up to get them more places to live and not have to move out of, because it's very hard for them when they have to move out of the place that they've lived in for 40 years and they want to stay. So I want to get them more places to live. So that's where I come from.
Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to highlight, underscore, read back what Ms. Christiansen shared. I think she had a lot of very good points about making sure that everything is in writing and understood. As you're looking at what's being requested, the removal of the SHO will allow them a little bit more flexibility to do what's being proposed. But I wish it had gone further and captured what's really being done there. I think you guys would have deserved the credit for backing down from 3-story senior housing that, honestly, 3-story senior housing with no elevators, just staircase, that never made sense to me. But I think by not memorializing and writing the changes that you're looking to do and just simply asking for the removal of the SHO really doesn't give you the credit that you deserve for listening to the feedback and adjusting to the area. While I wish that would change, I still think the removal of the SHO is better than what you have with it right now because it does give the flexibility to provide a better product. I just wish the documentation and the writing was a little bit better behind that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, is there anyone else that wishes to chime in or give a motion?
I'll do it. I move to approve ordinance number 2239.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Green, a second by Councilmember Jacob. Discussion to the motion. I just want to say again, I believe that Petersons are going to build what they have on the concept plan. The problem is, it's not legally binding. And I don't feel, in my own life, I can go on faith because it only affects me. If it goes south, it goes south. But for the city, I just don't feel that that's my role to go on faith. I think I need data and documents. And I, Mayor, would request that we work with staff to bring us, and in my small mind, I don't understand why on one development that to me looks very similar to this development, we get an MDP and an MDA. And I understand maybe it has to do with utilities, but wouldn't we want something more concrete on all of our properties so that when we're voting for what really has to go in there, not a conceptual drawing. So it's your staff, but I would sure appreciate that as a voting member for our city. So just a little tidbit of information. If we have no other comments to the motion, I would ask Ms. Quick for a roll call vote.
Thank you. Councilmember Bloom?
Yes.
Vice Chair Green?
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey?
Aye.
Chair Whitelock?
No.
Councilmember Worthen?
No.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Councilmember Pack?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-2.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is to consider Resolution 22038, a resolution approving a fee waiver for the Jordan School District. The Jordan School District is holding a family fair for refugee families at the Viridian Event Center. They are looking to close off a portion of Ring Road around Veterans Memorial Park, as well as reserve a portion of the park adjacent to the event on Saturday. No, I don't know if that's a Saturday. September 19th, 2022. Mr. Anderson, who's speaking to this item?
Mr. Lee will be.
Okay.
If I may, Chair Whitelock, council members, you just read the introduction that I was going to mention. This is a request by the Jordan School District. We have two representatives from the Jordan School District here, Ms. Tony Brown and Ms. Krista Meekum. I'd like to turn the time over to them to talk about what their event is. This is a request for a fee waiver because as part of their event, they are requesting to close the Ring Road or part of the Ring Road in Veteran Memorial Park. That involves typically would involve a fee. The fee is, I just saw it in the RCA. I think the fee is about $1,297 that's being requested to be waived. It's for the road and the event support. With your permission, I'd like to turn the time over to Ms. Meekum and Ms. Brown.
Thank you. I'm Krista Meekum. This is Tony Brown. I guess we can stand here together. We just thought we would give you some fun facts in Jordan School District so that you could see what we're doing. Our population and our demographics are changing. So we have given you a lot of information, but we've pulled out a few highlights. As far as the demographics with our language changing, we have 6.3 students that are non-fluent English speakers in our district. we have 63 languages in our district, which is amazing. A lot of people didn't know that there were even 63 languages out there. Those languages come from 40 different countries. And we work at providing support, language support for those students, and then culture support for those students as well. Some of the things that we do, that we have done for West Jordan students, is we do a Diploma Now program. So these students that go to Copper Hills High School and West Jordan High School that are credit deficient when they come to our country can get the credit recovery that they need so that they can graduate from high school. We work on a seal of biliteracy so that these students can become proficient in English, but also graduate with a seal of biliteracy so that we have more citizens that speak more languages in our community. In order to teach these students, these teachers need to go above and beyond their license, their teaching license, and get an ESL endorsement. And so we have opened up cohorts at West Jordan Middle, West Jordan High, and Fox Hollow in the last few years so that we could endorse teachers in just the West Jordan community. We've had partnerships with the West Jordan Police Department. One of our culture representatives has gone out with the, Officer Welty last year to show that we want to have that the police are our friends, essentially, and that we don't have to fear the police, that we can work together, and they're there to support all cultures, all races, and all languages. I'm sure that you've heard of Christmas for Kids that we have done in South Jordan, but most of the students that have participated in Christmas for Kids are from the West Jordan community. So we have given 500 secondary students Christmas. And again, most of those students are coming from West Jordan High School and Copper Hills High School. We've done the Giraffe Club and culture presentations in schools in the community. And we've had faculty presentations to help understand how to be culturally responsive to all students. And we've had newcomer meetings to include parents. And so this is why we want to have this event, because these parents are coming in, they're in a new community, they're trying to navigate their way in the school system and in a new community. So we're trying to help them see this is what the district has to offer and this is what the library has to offer. So at this event, we will have the library, the rec center, Salt Lake Community College. We have about 40 different organizations that will come and give resources to the students, but we have opened it up to not just our refugee and our language learners, because we have determined that all of the students, even if they were born and raised here and speak English, could use these resources. And so in the West Jordan community, we will be including our McKinney-Vento students. And as of right now, we have 1,600 McKinney-Vento students. That's our homeless population, which is a large population in an area where we don't have a homeless shelter. And then we will be inviting the schools in West Jordan. So in West Jordan, we have the 2 high schools, the 4 middle schools, and 16 elementaries, and 7 of those elementaries are Title I elementaries. And so we serve those communities a lot to help get their parents resources to help to just navigate their way. Tony's going to speak to our refugee population.
So in our area, and specifically in West Jordan, there are over 300 refugee students and newcomers or asylum seekers in our school district. And about 40% of those students are from the West Jordan or Copper Hills feeder system. So that's almost half of our refugee population just living right here in our neighborhood. The Family Resource Fair, or the Fall Family Fair, is going to offer them resources that help them get acquainted with what it means to live in Utah, what it means to live in West Jordan, and what it means to be an active participant in the schools. There's all kinds of resources that help kids as far as like their mental health goes. There's resources for parents and students there in that way. There's resources as far as nursing goes, or like health checks and things like that at the family fair. It's also a lot of fun. Last year we had, well, originally we started this program with like 250 people, and last year there were over 2,000 people in attendance. That's a huge growth. We have outgrown our previous location. We've outgrown 2 locations actually, and we are expecting even more people this time, which is why we're so excited to take it to the Viridian Center this year. We have booked out all of the event planning space there, as well as the outdoor. There's going to be performances and games and prizes and food and all kinds of great stuff for the families to enjoy. What else? Oh, and we'd actually really love to see you all there if you have time on that Monday, the September 19th.
Please
You're
tell
more
your
than
neighbors,
welcome. Yes.
Your neighbors and their families, all the students.
Have any questions?
I would just like you to clarify, because when people hear homeless, sometimes they think unsheltered. And I know for a fact in Jordan District that most of those homeless are actually living with family members.
So can I speak to that?
Yes, please do.
So McKinney-Vento, a lot of people are not familiar with that term. And the McKinney-Vento Act is the rights that students have. And so by definition, with the support that we get in schools, there are 6 categories. And I'm not sure if I can remember them all, but it's doubling up. If you have to double up because of an economic hardship, then you're considered homeless. So if I lose my house because of an economic hardship, there's a fire, or I lose my job and I move in with Tony, my family is considered homeless, but Tony's family is not. And so I would receive those supports. A lot of what we have in Jordan School District are unaccompanied minors, which is another category. So we have quite a large amount of that. And Copper Hills actually has the largest amount of McKinney-Vento students of all the schools in the district.
And point of personal privilege I'm going to take here to advocate for my city. One of the things that your Board of Education is, one of their ideas is to close not 1, but 3 elementary schools in our district, where we have, as you know, all the Title I schools in Jordan District. Those students do not need to be crammed into schools. That is unacceptable, and that better not be what they do. Because West Jordan is a big enough city that they can be their own district. So just maybe take that back for me.
And so we've worked with some of those families too, because some of those families feel that in those schools it's a walking area. And so we've supported those, because those are a lot of our language learners, our multicultural families. And so we've kind of worked with them to hear them on that account as well.
Yeah, they just need to think about it, good and hard. Does anyone have any questions? Councilmember Jacob.
I have a quick question for, I guess, staff or whoever did the staff report. I don't have a problem with, well, we had the public hearing, so I will not opine. But it has a park rental deposit and a park rental fee, each of which is $500. The deposit's refundable? Is it refundable? Is the deposit normally refundable?
Mr. Jacob, I noticed the same thing and thought, well, why are we having the fee waiver at $1,200 if the fee deposit is refundable? Maybe the fee waiver ought to say $700.
Right, that's what exactly what I thought.
That would be my assumption as well. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, if you don't pay it, you don't get it back, so just saying. Okay. That was my only question, thanks.
Okay, I'd look for a motion. Oh, public hearing, sorry, I will open the public hearing. If you're here to speak to this item, please come to the lectern or indicate by raising your hand in the chat, or by pushing *9 if you're online. Councilmember McConaughey, can you see?
Oh, yeah, there's no one attending online by phone, no hands have been raised. But I am ready for a motion once the public hearing's closed.
Okay, seeing no one to comment, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for a motion. Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Chair. Move to approve Resolution 22-038.
Councilmember Bloom.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Councilmember McConaughey, a second by Councilmember Bloom. Ms. Quick, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember McConaughey. Councilmember Jacob.
Yes.
Chair Whitelock.
Yes.
Vice Chair Green.
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom.
Yes.
Councilmember Pack.
Yes.
Councilmember Worthen.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
Next.
It's nice we can make somebody in the city happy with our vote.
Thank you for your service for that group of residents. Consider resolution number 22-035, a resolution approving a fee waiver for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for the day of service event to be held on September 10th, 2022. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Chair. This is similar to the previous request. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is conducting a community-wide effort to do neighborhood cleanups, park project cleanups, park improvement projects, and other community service efforts. They're requesting as part of that event 7 dumpsters from the city. At $50 a dumpster, that would be a fee waiver request of $350. That's what's being requested this evening.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the council? If not, I will open the public hearing. If you're here to speak on this, please come forward.
But there's still no one online.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Oh, I had it.
Pull it up.
I was just curious
Yeah.
where they're at. Who's representing? You or who's representing the church?
Oh, here, this evening, no one's here from the church. Ariel, the point person on this is actually Bryce Hatterley, who many of you may know is a former assistant city manager and interim city manager here. He's actually the city manager at Woods Cross now and wasn't able to make it here this evening. He is the point person for all of the LDS stakes west of Bangor Highway on this particular project. He has been working with Ariel on coordinating the proposed projects. Our Parks Department gave them a long list of projects that we would like to see as a city. They've worked and coordinated efforts to make sure that the projects being proposed are things that work well with the city and the city's desires and city's efforts as well. You should have received an email from Ariel on this listing the projects, and there's numerous opportunities to be involved if you'd like to.
Councilmember Pack.
Oh, thank you. As I'm reading through the packet, I don't necessarily see who's going to be overseeing this, just to make sure.
Hang on just one second, Councilmember Pack. I don't think I closed the public hearing.
Ah.
So I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the council.
Great,
Now go.
thank you. So who will be overseeing this? I didn't see it in the packet, because when you get that many people together, just to make sure that there's going to be more than one city staff member there, right?
Oh, correct. There is a Ariel. Ariel is the point person for the coordination of the service project efforts at each of the large service project sites that are taking place on city property. There is a park staff member involved, like Travis Johnson or Chris Pearson or others, who oversee that particular park or that trail, that area.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure that there must have been some study noted why 6 instead of 5 or 7 dumpsters, but just if there is more that's needed because of a good cleanup effort and we're doing a fee waiver per dumpster, is there a way we can kind of make this a little bit open-ended if they need another dumpster, or is it just a set 6?
Sorry, it's actually 7 dumpsters that are being requested for the fee waiver. This was at their request. 7 dumpsters is what they asked for from the various stakes.
And if there is more that's cleaned up, what would happen there? Because that's been my experience, that sometimes, people really get in there and the city might need to use more dumpsters just in case. And we're doing a fee waiver for an exact set amount. Just curious if it could be open-ended.
I don't know that the fee waiver can be open-ended this evening. However, for example, some of the cleanups that are occurring on city properties, bags will be located in a single site, and then the following week, park staff will remove the trash and so on, where it's not at dumpsters. The dumpster sites are specifically for neighborhood cleanups, more than the park project cleanups, is my understanding.
Okay. Great, thank you, Mr. Lee.
Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Chair. Just the thought that this looks like one of those items that probably would have worked well as a service in lieu of fees rather than a fee waiver. I very much prefer those. It shows and kind of documents a little bit better that the city's receiving something and not just giving away city resources. Both of these I actually would have preferred to have seen as service in lieu of fees rather than.
Point well taken. Yep.
Okay. And not seeing any other lights, Chair, if you're open, I would move to approve Resolution 22-035.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember McConaughey, a second by Councilmember Green. Is there any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, Ms. Quick, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Worthen,
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey,
Aye.
Vice Chair Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Pack,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Chair Whitelock,
No.
Councilmember Bloom.
Yes.
That motion passes 6-1.
Next item on our agenda is to consider ordinance 22-43, amending the moderate income housing element of the 2012 general plan. Mr. Gardner?
I'll be brief, and this is the third meeting the city council's entertained moderate income housing goals. As you're aware, the legislature passed a law that requires cities to amend their moderate income housing element of the general plan and submit strategies to the state of Utah that will hopefully result in the construction of moderate income housing. The Planning Commission recommended 8 strategies. The council, after much deliberation and thought, chose to reject 2 of those recommendations, but however added 3 additional strategies for a total of 9 strategies. Under the statute, the city is only required to submit 6, or I should say West Jordan's only required to submit 6 strategies. And so I believe that 9 is a good number because some of them, as we are working through the strategies, will probably be found, they may or may not be feasible. And so I think it's good to always hedge your bet and not have to come back and hurriedly add another strategy in the future. So all that is required this year is that the strategies be submitted next year. The entire moderate income housing plan will be updated again, and the yearly reporting will begin for the municipalities. And so you will receive a yearly report on the status of the moderate income housing and these strategies. Now, that being said, I don't know if you want me to go through each strategy or it's up to the council. I don't want to, I think you're all familiar, you're all involved in creating them, so.
If you want him to, please turn your light on. I think we've discussed it. Thank you for all your time you've put into this. I will now open the public hearing. If you're here to speak to this, please come to the lectern, or if there's anyone still online. No hands are raised. I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for consideration and possible motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 2243 and put it to bed.
I will second that.
You don't have to put it to bed in the motion, Cindy.
We have a motion by Councilmember Green, a second by Councilmember Bloom. Ms. Quick, roll call vote, please.
I have to say I'm getting faster. Councilmember Pack,
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey,
While I'm not able to find a blankie, I'll still say aye.
Chair Whitelock,
Yes.
Vice Chair Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
As one who would like to go to bed himself, yes.
Councilmember Worthen.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
And I just want to thank you, Larry, for all the time and for getting it to us so that we're on time and have a good plan. Thank you.
And I really want to thank the council because this makes my job much easier, not scrambling on September 30th to get this done, or at least September 28th. And I appreciate how serious you've taken this. And I'll report to you, the state actually has a reporting mechanism that it can be submitted via a website, so we should get credit for it this year, so.
So do you want, I don't think the rest of the council heard the good news that you told me last night about Wasatch Front Regional Council
About the stationary plan.
and the 300 and,
Yeah, and West Jordan was one of the first communities to, and Taylor Jensen, who we hired to take Brian Barrett's place, when he was hired, that's what I tasked him with doing, is getting the station area plan submitted to Wasatch Front Regional Council and apply for funding. West Jordan was one of the first communities, if not the first. And so the city will be receiving, in conjunction with Midvale, because we combined cross-border, is it Bingham Junction? Bingham Junction, Gardner, and the city center will be the recipient of $350,000 for planning work for those three stations. And so, so your work is just beginning, I believe. So thank you again.
Thank you. And next item is consent items. I look for a motion. Councilmember McConaughey.
Move to approve Resolution 22-040.
second.
Have a motion by Councilmember McConaughey, a second by Councilmember Green. Cindy, roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Vice Chair Green,
Yes.
Councilmember McConaughey,
Aye.
Councilmember Worthen,
Yes.
Councilmember Pack,
Yes.
Vice Chair Green. Or,
Yes.
excuse me, Chair Whitelock.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes 7-0.
I can be in Chicago, vote early, vote often.
Vote early, vote.
The next item, Mr. Anderson, is your report.
Yes, thank you, council. Just two things to report. Number one, we had the first open house on the general plan 2022. It was at the Bingham Creek Library. Thank you very much for hosting us. We had 12 residents that signed the attendance log. We had 3 council members in attendance. We had Vice Chair Green, Council Chair Whitelock, and Councilmember Pack. I think that's who I
So
saw.
that was 10?
What?
That was 10 residents?
We had 12 on the sign-up list.
Oh, 12. Okay.
Yeah. We have, the next open house will be at Veridian Library on Wednesday, a week from tonight. We'll be in meeting room A, and that's also going out on social media and invites for that. Next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, we have a combined meeting with the Planning Commission to go over the general plan. That will be here in this room. I think we're just planning on 2 hours. It's the only topic we have at this point. So that's coming up. The other item, the last item that I have is it is time for the Utah League of Cities and Towns Conference the first week of October. The early bird registration runs through September 14th. Please let me know. As part of the budget process, it was determined by the council not to fund for all 7 of you, so I just need to know who's going. So if you can let me know as soon as possible. September 14th, which is our next city council meeting, is when early bird registration ends. It's October 5th, 6th, and 7th. And that is the council report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is council comments. Well, I guess I'll go first. Yeah, I will. Well, basically, I need to let you know that those people that came and spoke about the cats, that is my neighborhood, and it is an issue. So I tonight want to find out if I've got 3 more council members that are willing to ask staff to allocate time at looking at our code for cats. I have at least 6.
We call it cat code.
So if we could put time into that, I think we heard some good thoughts on maybe what we can do. I would add also that I think if we're going to return an animal to a neighborhood, that it's our due diligence to test it to ensure that it doesn't carry disease. I think that releasing an animal that has that toxoplasmosis is horrid. It's a problem. So, the other thing I'd like to report on, also, I think it should be the whole animal code should be looked at when we're looking at it, because it's odd to me that you tell me how many dogs I can have, you tell me how many chickens I can have. I don't understand why cats are special. So, the other thing, I did get to, as the mayor mentioned, I did get to go to the senior housing over on Sugar Factory and help judge patios. That was really hard. And until we compared at the end, I thought I was being really harsh, but I think I was close to the mayor, so it was okay. I do think maybe if those council member were, then they would have scored higher, but it was hard to know, like if there's one chair and an empty pot, is that clutter? Is that decor? It was hard, and then it was heartbreaking because this one elderly lady told us how she had all these beautiful plants and that somebody came by and cut some of them off. So it's like, oh my gosh. So that was hard. I had already put my number down for that one and decided I shouldn't change it because maybe everybody had a story. So, but that was sad. You got my note with my other meetings that I've attended, so I will turn it over to, I don't know who was next, Councilmember Worthen.
The only committee I have is the budget committee. Y'all know what's happening there. So passed a really good budget. Very proud of all of that, all the work that everybody did on that. I always do like to end on a positive note, so I like to give a shout out. There are very few people that attend and are online that actually come to every meeting. So tonight I want to give a shout out to one particular individual that I know attends every meeting online as long as I'm here. He's a great individual in our community. He volunteers, helps out. Well, he gets voluntold. But he does it, he still does it willingly. About a year ago, well, I don't even think it was that long ago, we had some graffiti and personally went over and cleaned that graffiti up. He's a great neighbor. He helps people out and he supports the council. And I will tell you, he loves hearing from, well, I'll say airport guy. He enjoys that. And he also loves hearing from Councilman McConaughey and Councilman Green because he loves the input and of the research the two of you give. So I guess that's kind of a shout out to both of you as well. But that's my husband, Mike Worthen. He listens to every single meeting. So when I get home, we have a conversation about it. And I think that's great. I mean, not everybody does that. So I just want to give a shout out to him tonight because he listens to every single meeting. He knows what's going on in the city. He's an involved citizen, and I very much appreciate that because we don't have as many involved citizens as we should. But I love that he does that. He doesn't have to. So I thank him.
Vice Chair Green.
So I'm going to say it was great to be able to meet with the residents last was it last night? The nights are blurring together with all the council stuff. But meet with the residents last night to talk about general plan. Look forward to that next week. Thanks to Anne Marie for, I told you earlier, but thanks again for allowing us to use your library. That was a great room that we were able to use. And so thank you. I made my report on the chamber earlier, so I will bypass that. I will just remind the council that if you're available on Tuesday, now I got to figure out the exact day because it's Tuesday, September 13th. That's when the corn day is out at Public Works. So it's a great time to go out and meet with employees. And so if you've got a chance to do that, show up. And I'm sure Brian can put you to work to help roast some corn. Yeah, that's coming up. And that's before our next meeting. I think that's all I have.
Does anyone else? Councilmember McConaughey.
Thank you, Chair. I recognize that this is kind of a temporary space and there are some inconveniences here, but I'm wondering if maybe the council office or leadership could look at a couple little things to help with decorum, like perhaps a cable that would allow this to be extended over there. Or also, there were a couple times people came up and just started approaching what would otherwise be the dais and handing things. Maybe if something could be looked at for process, it's just a little different, not having to go through the recorder like it used to. So just a thought. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, if there's nothing further, we have new business on our agenda and unfinished business that you can look at. Our next meeting, don't forget, is our joint meeting with the Planning Commission on the 30th. I'm hopeful that we will have maps that the council and the Planning Commission can look at and give input, as well as the other portions of that plan. If you haven't started reading it, you might want to, because it's long. And I will look for one final motion. We have a motion.
And I'll second.
By Councilmember McConaughey, a second by Councilmember Green. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone.